Hi, and welcome to Build Your Best Brand, a free monthly virtual education series brought to you by Embellished Brands. We discuss branding and marketing topics to help small businesses and nonprofits gain clarity to build their best brands. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Jamie Wright, and I am the founder and CEO of Embellished Brands, and I help women build and lead impactful organizations. An impactful organization is a small business or nonprofit that's doing work that matters by bringing positive change to the world in the ways that only they can. I believe that building a strong brand foundation for your organization is essential because it helps create clarity and focus for achieving your mission and business goals. Today, we are talking about brand stewardship. Is it luck or hard work? Well, I hope you already know the answer to that. Your best brand is not going to magically appear out of thin air. Like anything worth creating, it takes time, intention, and care to craft a brand identity that resonates. So, this is part one in a much broader conversation that we are going to be having about brand stewardship. So, let's dive in. What is brand stewardship? Merriam-Webster defines stewardship as the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. So from that, I created the definition for brand stewardship as being the intentional care and strategy invested into growing a strong brand identity, one that is unique, consistent, and recognizable. So note that I said a brand should be both unique and consistent, and these are not mutually exclusive terms. Unique means being the only one, being without like or equal, distinctively characteristic, able to be distinguished from all others of its class or type. And consistent is defined as being marked by harmony, regularity, or steady continuity, free from variation or contradiction. So, really, I'm showing you these definitions because I want you to understand that a brand can be both unique and consistent without becoming boring or irrelevant. So just keep that in mind as we talk about your best brand. So today we're going to be specifically talking about brand stewardship with a brand identity guide. So the worst thing you can do for your brand is to let it become stagnant. A set it and forget it approach to brand management is not a good idea. Let me just put that out there right now. The best tool that you can use in your brand management efforts is a brand guide. And that is a document that outlines the key elements of your brand's identity, and it ensures consistency across all of your brand communications. And it is a document that can range from being a simple style guide to a more robust and comprehensive brand playbook. So let's talk about those two. A style guide is a document in which the elements of your brand's visual identity are presented, and that includes the logos. It includes color palettes, your primary and secondary palettes, typography selected for your brand, and any other brand graphics or other imagery or patterns, any other assets that you have that are created specifically for your brand and are in regular use. You want to make sure that those are included in your style guide. You will also include guidelines for the usage of all of those elements in there as well. And this is a document that if you had a brand designer, your designer should have provided this for you when your brand was initially created. And if you did not have a brand designer, that's okay. We'll talk about how you can build a brand guide in just a moment. A brand playbook includes all of the visual identity information and a bunch more other stuff. So we have foundational brand elements, which in other trainings, I've talked about those elements being your mission and vision statements, your core values, anything else that really sets the foundation for what you do and why you do it. And from an organizational perspective, for small businesses and nonprofits alike, it is why do we even exist? What kind of work are we doing on a day-to-day basis that in a way could change the world? That's the core foundational stuff that you want to make sure you include in your brand playbook. Having information about your target audience, your brand voice and messaging, and any other information about your brand that is really critical, make sure that is included as well. And as your brand evolves, you want to make sure to update your brand guide, no matter which variation of it that you have. You want to make sure you update it so that it's reflective of the most current and accurate brand information. So once you have this document, you want to make sure that all of your internal and external team members, so this is paid staff, vendors, contractors doing marketing or design work for you, just kind of all inclusive, anybody who's helping to represent your organization in your community or in the marketplace, you want to make sure that they have received this document and have reviewed it. And I'm very specific in why I said it that way. It's very easy to send over the brand guide and, hey, for your information. But when you have somebody in a role that is representing your brand, I sure hope that they take the time to understand your brand guide and make sure that they know that information. So as they are representing your organization, they are following the same guidelines that everybody else related to your organization are following as well. Then you want to establish a regular schedule for reviewing and updating the guide. For more established organizations, you can do this less frequently than those organizations that are new or growing. So I would say for more established brands, that would probably be maybe once a year. I think if you do it less frequently, so if there's more than a year in between your reviews of the brand guide, you're taking the chances that some changes might have occurred that not everybody is up to speed on. But if you do it more frequently than that, you might just be creating some unnecessary work for yourself because things may not be changing that frequently since you're established. For those newer growing brands, I would say maybe at least twice a year or more frequently. If you're in the process of building and growing as you're creating products or creating services or revamping a website, there might be some new brand elements that get created as part of some of these projects that you have going on. So if once those things are in use, then you want to make sure they're included in your brand guide. So the more frequent reevaluation and updates is more important as things are more frequently changing for those new or growing brands. Let's see. So another critical element when you are looking at the effectiveness of your brand guide and whether anything needs to be adjusted is feedback that you ask for and receive from stakeholders within your organization. Just so we're clear, a stakeholder is someone who has an interest in your brand or who is directly impacted by your brand. And this includes people internally and externally. So for small businesses, of course, your team, and then maybe your customers. Or if you have a network within your community, maybe asking some of those people for feedback as well would be helpful. Nonprofit organizations, you have a board that you answer to. You have probably paid staff and maybe some volunteers. You also have the people that your nonprofit is providing services to, and you want to make sure you get their input as well. So this information can be gathered through surveys, focus groups, a quick email or a phone call. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't take much to ask for and receive feedback, but if you're going through the motions of asking for feedback, then definitely make sure you take the time to thoroughly go through that feedback and evaluate it. All right. If you come across something in your brand that isn't working well, and it's something that maybe just feels off, or maybe it's something you've noticed used to elicit a positive reaction or maybe a lot of engagement in the past, and then now it just seems like it's falling flat whenever you use it. I mean, it could be anything, but pay attention to those types of patterns. And if there's anything that you identify as just not working well, not being effective anymore, then consider removing it, right? And actually, my simple advice in this case is keep what works and get rid of the rest. Just keep it very simple for yourself. If everything I've just talked about, you feel uncertain about doing on your own as somebody who is stewarding a brand, or if it feels overwhelming, as I'm talking about, asking for feedback, collecting it, and analyzing it, consider inviting a brand consultant into this process to walk alongside you and help you do some of these tasks. It is definitely an investment and you will get an ROI on it because you will actually be doing constant activity to help manage your brand rather than letting your brand sit idle until something happens and you have to work quickly to try to correct it. So this is all of these activities are along the lines of preventative maintenance, essentially, rather than trying to rebuild something after something negative happens. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So we are managing it in real time as best as we can. And if you want some help doing that, consider inviting a brand consultant to help you out. All right, so let's talk about how you build a brand identity guide if you do not already have one, or maybe you feel like you do have a little something, and maybe it was thrown together in the early days of your brand, and you want to elevate it now. Listen up. So if you want to DIY, if you have nothing and you've got a lot of people that are working with you who are helping to represent your brand, then I say DIY is okay. Put something together so everyone can read the same thing and everyone can be on the same page. And this is a great option if you are going to, behind the scenes, continue working on something a little bit more robust. At least they have basic guidelines to follow until they have the full playbook access. You could use Google Docs, Word, Canva, or if you have access to any Adobe Creative Cloud tools, use whatever you have that works for you. But it's okay to keep it as simple as possible just to get started. If you have a brand designer and you never received your initial brand guide, then just follow up with them and see if they'd be able to pull one together for you. If your brand designer is not available or you never had one in the first place, you can just find a graphic designer who's knowledgeable about creating brand guides and ask for their help. Or you have someone on your team who is experienced in design. Bring them in, and they would probably be a good resource for you because if they're already on the team, then they do have familiarity with your brand, and that is helpful when deciding what to include inside that brand guide. If none of these options sound good to you, or if you want a more robust solution and something kind of plug and play right out of the gate, I created a ready-made Canva template. All you have to do is add your own information and it'll be ready to go. So I will include more information about that along with the link to this video so you can check that out if that's something of interest to you. All right, well, that concludes the first part of our brand stewardship conversation. Part 2 and others will be coming very soon. So thank you for joining me today on this edition of Build Your Best Brand. If you have any questions or would like any clarity, feel free to reach out. I'm always available to answer questions. But if you don't, then I thank you again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.